Hello, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update, brought to you by Ag Carolina Farm Credit. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible Incorporated, and I serve as the director for undergraduate studies in atmospheric science at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Well, it's very important as we move into this month of July to take a look at what June gave us. So let's start off with this map. It's showing you the maximum temperature anomaly, that means difference from normal, for all of June. So when you look at this, we can see that a big section of the United States was quite warm compared to average. It was really only the Pacific Northwest and the northeastern part of the United States that really saw some cooler temperatures. Therefore, I think when the rankings come out later on this week, we're going to be seeing June 2018 ranked somewhere in the top 10 warmest Junes on record for the U.S., and those records go back 124 years, and it may even crack into the top 5. We'll have to keep a lookout for that. Here in North and South Carolina, we've had a near average pace of accumulating growing degree day units. Since May 1st, we're a little bit ahead of average, but overall it's been pretty normal. And just an interesting side note, even though we had Tropical Storm Alberto that kind of came through the middle part of the country in May, we had no tropical cyclones impact the United States in June. So let's think about that as we move forward here. I want to show you total accumulated precipitation. This is June 1st through June 30th. So we're looking at June only. Now, outside of North and South Carolina, you can see that much of the Corn Belt was very, very wet. And we've been talking about this the last couple of updates. We've continued to see thunderstorms move through that area. And while some of them have been quite severe, overall, the Corn Belt, as it goes into pollination here for corn, is looking pretty good. Now, coming back to North and South Carolina, look at the central regions of both states. In fact, it might be easier to see it like this. We can see that parts of central North Carolina have actually been dry over the last 30 days. So we've actually seen, compared to average, a bit of a drier pattern setting up in this area. But I want to show you the longer range perspective on this. Well, you see here that the U.S. Drought Monitor, which updated on June 28th here, clearly shows that we're not developing any sort of drought in this area. There's been a lot of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms, even though it's been a drier pattern overall. By the way, just to show you, the west is drying relatively quickly, and we just had a new fire kind of crop up here just north of San Francisco. You can see the smoke plume of it stretching all the way across San Francisco Bay. So it's quite an interesting picture to paint once you get west of the Mississippi River in terms of drought compared to east. Okay, with that as a backdrop, I want to show you one other thing here. We often like to look down from outer space to kind of gauge the health of our vegetation. So we look at something called a Vegetative Health Index. It uses a very popular technique we call the NDVI, and that stands for the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. Okay, what does all of it mean? Well, when we look at these maps, the closer we are to this color range over here in the color bar, the better the crop looks from space. Over here, the worse it looks. We just kind of hone in here on North and South, kind of really the Southeast on the whole. We can see that 2018, which is the map on the left, compared to 2017, it doesn't look a whole lot different. We were a little bit better conditions a year ago across parts of North and South Carolina, but overall not too bad. Just to kind of think about this in broader terms, though, look over here in the southern Mississippi River Valley. Look how good things looked last year compared to this year, where we're kind of dealing with some drier conditions. So I just want to point this out. It's a neat map to kind of just step back and look, pause the video, take a closer look if you'd like, but just kind of shows you what things look like from space. Okay, getting into this week, Monday's going to start off an absolute scorcher. This ridge feature you see right here in the flow of the jet stream midday on Monday is allowing for an enormous amount of heat to kind of push up the East Coast United States. Widespread 90s, upper 90s with pretty high heat indices because of the humidity in this area. This is the heat that was over the Corn Belt for the last 4 days. So it's kind of finally starting to spread off to the east. But we got to watch it. We got to see where this ridge is going over the coming days. But we have excessive heat warnings that stretch all along the East Coast for the day on Monday. Now, what's going to be driving our weather is that ridge. Now, this map you're going to be looking at here, this is a neat one. What it shows you in these contours is the flow of the atmosphere. So ridges are when they bulge north and troughs are where they dig south. What is color shaded here for you is vorticity. That's spin in the atmosphere. And spin in the atmosphere is equated with lifting of the air in the atmosphere, and that gives us showers and storms. So I want you to pay attention to these things. One, here's the ridge we have to deal with on Monday. There's a broader trough feature here across the northern plains. And then there's this feature right here. this mid-level circulation, this little, it's in the tropics, but it's not really a tropical feature moving to the west with time. Now, what I want you to see first is right along this boundary, as I click play here, you're going to see several little pockets of vorticity showing up. This is where we're watching for showers and thunderstorms to develop on Monday. But overall, we have a feature that runs to our south. There it is again. If I kind of just show you this again. Watch here. Here comes that tropical feature, but it's not a tropical cyclone, but it's in the tropics. See it moving south? Moving west. It's doing so south of the big ridge that kind of sets up shop here over the whole eastern part of the United States. So those are the big features we're watching. So Monday, I really want you to pay attention to the shower and thunderstorm activity that we will be seeing across this region. It will creep into parts of North and South Carolina as the day wears on. But other than that, the heat and humidity, well, the atmosphere could pop at any time given those conditions. SPC, or the Storm Prediction Center, is really focusing more here in the Great Plains for its severe weather on Monday. Tuesday, we can see a general risk of thunderstorms throughout the entirety of the East Coast and Southeast. So we're just dealing with a large amount of moisture with an unstable atmosphere. We can trigger these storms. Okay, put it all together. Here's what we're looking at for the next 3.5 days. So this gets us through midday on Thursday. We can see that overall, because we're going to be lacking any major weather system, I'm talking about a big front or a tropical feature, anything like that coming through North and South Carolina, we're really going to be looking dry on this map. And that's because we're only going to be getting these hit or miss showers and storms. Look at them. See them all kind of popping up right in through here on Monday? Well, I think it's going to be a relatively drier week setting up, especially in North Carolina, at least until we get toward the weekend. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be any pop-ups, but overall, this is what we're seeing. Now, in terms of temperatures, check this out. Starting on Tuesday, because we already looked at Monday, we can still see those 90s spreading up the East Coast. So another hot day on Tuesday with overnight low temperatures deep into the 70s. By the time we get into the 4th of July, again, 90s spreading up the East Coast with big, triple-digit heat here in the South Central United States. Again, overnight lows. This is hot, this is muggy, this is humid air. We got overnight lows here in the 70s still. Getting into Thursday, we don't see much of a change. Look at this. Upper 80s, lower 90s, again across the eastern part of the country. And again, we see those overnight lows getting up into the 70s. And it just wash, rinse, and repeat for Friday as well. So that ridge aloft, so that's that big feature I was kind of pointing out to you right here. It's going to keep us quite warm this week, quite hot and humid, so be prepared for that. Now, looks like the next chance we get for some organized, like a front coming through to kind of organize the precipitation will be on Saturday. We're going to be watching this trough that's going to start here off the west coast, move all the way over to eastern Canada, and it will be dragging a cold front, which really isn't going to drop temperatures too much, but it's going to be bringing in some drier air behind it that's going to finally make it through the Carolinas. And look, as that drier, slightly cooler air comes through, it's going to lift the air, giving us a chance for showers and storms really Saturday into Sunday. So other than that, hit or miss week in terms of thunderstorms, hot and humid week, so be prepared for those conditions throughout this week. Now, what I want to do again is I want to reiterate one point I put in the video last week, and that is this. Our hottest and driest Julys in the Carolinas feature a large ridge that either sets up here for much of the month or a little bit farther to the west of there. That's the thing we have to be on the lookout for. If we see this feature, we need to be careful. So that's why I want to show you this animation. This is going to show you from the European model the setup of the atmosphere moving through the next 15 days. And I want you to again to remember, ridges where we see the warm colors, troughs where we see the cooler colors. Watch what the forecast holds. What we see in general through the next 10 days is overall a ridging pattern that sets up out east. So let me take you back there. Here it is. This is, let's just go this through day by day. This is July the 4th. Look at the big ridge, okay? July the 5th. We just keep moving here day by day. Here's July 6th. We're now getting into the 7th. And this is where things are going to continue to stay warm at least through the next 10 days. Now look, another ridge kind of sets up here by the time we start next week. But what's of concern is that it looks as though by the time we get maybe the 12th, 13th, or 14th, the ridge may start to really establish itself quite well out west. This is what the current models are projecting. Now, this is against persistence, okay? This is against the persistent weather patterns we've seen. But if a ridge sets up here, that tends to be more seasonable weather down over the southeast. Now, what does that mean? That still means hot and muggy and humid. That's your summer. But this does at least mean that the intense heat that we saw, starting over the weekend, then really getting here Monday and Tuesday, may not be a persistent feature looking forward. I'm going to tell you something, though. The long range European model, which is what we're looking at, is not necessarily in agreement with the long range US model, which does want to keep more heat in the eastern part of the country. So they're at odds right now. We're going to have to pay attention to both. But the good news is we've got our new long-range weather model updates that are going to be coming out later on this week. So my next video update that'll come out to you next Monday, you'll have all that information. So until then, just keep a close eye on the radar. Make sure you're staying hydrated with all this heat, and keep a close eye on the flow pattern of the jet stream. That is key in determining how the weather sets up in the Carolinas. But with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We'd Ag Carolina, thank you for watching. Hope you look forward to our next video update coming out next week. Thank you.